UK is the government directly influencing the industry by intervening and mandating particular technologies, like, for example, building information modelling in 2016. Given the proximity of the UK, given that this is probably one of the most successful examples of intervention, why is the Irish government not doing the same?
Thanks very much, Alan. I think it was
Alan, yes.
Alan. Just on your first point in terms of intervening in the sector, I didn't mean it in terms of not to get involved in the sector. First of all, I think what I was getting at there was in terms of, I suppose, intervening in the market as such, and the difficulties involved in that, and I suppose not repeating mistakes made in the past, and having more joined up approach in terms of intervening in the market. I think the action plan for jobs suggests there, my last slide there, it indicates that the Department of Finance will take a more active role or proactive role in terms of the market and the property market, and that's a positive thing. On the UK approach, I think certainly it's something that needs to happen in the Irish context, that there is more engagement between government as I suppose stimulating innovation in the sector and demanding more from the sector as the largest purchaser of construction services at the moment. It has a crucial role to play as the sector's biggest customer. So certainly I think we should, or the government should be moving in that direction. There should be a closer relationship between government and the sector in terms of setting the standards so that the sector can compete internationally and be competitive internationally. In an international context, we certainly have to be moving that direction. As to how it's done, that remains to be seen as to how best to do that, but I think certainly the engagement has to be closer than it is at the present time.
Thanks very much.
I suppose it's a follow-up question, Sean Cannon from GMIT. Has the time arrived for Ireland to appoint a person to advise the government, an independent advisor on construction, taking into account the serious implications it has having booms and busts, and that we should have an advisor similar to what they have in Great Britain? It's a question for both speakers.
Thanks very much. I suppose, as I mentioned just there, I think the relationship between the sector and the government system has been fragmented to date. That's been a kind of a necessary evil in some respects. There's certainly a role for Department of Environment in terms of setting regulations, in terms of building standards, etc. There's a role for the Department of Public Expenditure in terms of setting the priorities for public capital investment and all of that. As I say, that's a necessary fragmentation that's there, but what has been missing has been the overarching kind of developmental perspective on that. I don't know whether certainly the principle of having a more streamlined relationship with government is something that I think we're all in agreement. I think something needs to be done on that score. I'm not sure whether we're moving towards a single advisor to government or whether that's the best thing, but certainly we can achieve a lot by I suppose recognising that the relationship has to be stronger, it has to be two-way, and it has to be developmental. So I think the options are open at the moment in terms of how that might be structured going forward, but I think a first step is to recognise that that relationship has to be a much more streamlined one than it has been to date, and much more focused on sort of the development of the sector and where we need to get to. I think that's what the approach has been in the UK in terms to develop that. But it's not just about the needs of government as stakeholder. It's also about the needs of the general, I suppose, objectives of the sector itself as well. So we need to make sure that the full agenda there is captured by whatever structures that we do put in place.
Sorry, Martin, I was just going to make a quick comment. I mean, I think the industry has suffered over the last few years in that it's nearly seen as kind of a black sheep industry after the kind of the peaks of the property boom. It hasn't been an attractive political approach to be kind of promoting construction and property. But I think that is changing, and hopefully this report will make a difference. Certainly the CIF and the SCSI have been calling for a champion for the construction industry, and Paul Morrell is the champion in the UK, and I think there would be a benefit to having a stronger voice closer to government.
Take one last question. No, all done. I'll just excuse John because he's got an urgent phone call. Just take that. So we'll break for tea shortly. We'll just outline the room arrangement.